to reconfirm.
reconfirm an open session. So you'll have to reconfirm the
Now
vote
what?
to close the first executive session and seal the minutes, the vote to close the second executive session and seal the minutes, and the vote to table that.
You wanna do that before roll call?
You can,
Alright.
as long as it's open
Yeah.
session, you can
As soon
just,
as he
You go
calls
on
it.
your
Yep.
phone, I just hit the meeting to stop right now. Do you see if it's on?
you can run late, you just can't start early. Yeah.
Are the mics on?
You just can't run early because if you told people to be here at 7 and you started at 6,
Up or down?
that wouldn't be fair. But you
Okay,
can
bathroom
run.
break, quick.
I know I'm gonna run out to the bathroom, but I do have to go.
Are we on?
I don't know.
We try not to,
We used to do a test.
I don't see any noise.
not initially start.
Was it working? Is this supposed to be working?
Roll call, the pledge, the prayer.
Right, town's website, right?
Executive session.
Huh?
We can go an hour or 2 hours.
Is it, oh, what?
And then come back in. And then until,
It's, oh, we're late. Oh, we're supposed to-
so what Al tried, David tried to do, in the dark, is to start the executive session earlier.
John,
in
Yeah.
the- with the intent of not having people waiting. You know, because having people waiting, nobody wants to do that, so that's why they started with that, so we hope not to be late. We try really hard. Oh, sometimes there's event, yeah, and sometimes there's event, and, oh, you know what, and Tracy opens the window sometimes too. 'cause it's really toasty, so she
You warm over there? Are you warm?
She's freezing,
Oh.
so.
That's all right. Oh, that's
Oh, see, David popped the window,
I
I
thought,
told him.
I heard you say you were warm.
is it on?
I can't get in. I don't know why.
I got it running, I'm doing a test.
Let me try this phone.
It says in progress. Let me see what shows up.
Says it's running.
Yep, it's working.
It is?
Yep.
I'm just gonna let it go, I'm just gonna sit
Do you
here.
have a gavel?
No. I don't think I've ever seen one here either.
No, there was discussion.
Yeah, I thought you
There
were
was
coming
a
down, it's at my
discussion to
desk,
get
I
one.
know.
Gavel,
Last month's too, because it wasn't on,
Oh, that one I have to do just a voice.
Up to now, we haven't
I
really
have the
needed
voice.
one.
The
I
Granicus
needed one
wasn't,
before.
the video
Huh?
didn't work,
We needed one before.
but I
Did
have
we?
a
Oh,
voice
I believe we
voice.
needed it.
okay.
But that one I have to disc
Well, I mean,
down
while
at
I've been
home.
here, we haven't.
Yeah, so
I
far.
haven't done it the.
Lately it's been
You
okay.
were gonna come like that Wednesday or something to
Right.
pick it up, so I left it there.
Yeah, I got a little busy, so I'll pick it up.
Okay, I didn't forget you though,
I know you
but,
will.
but now you're gonna give me a chance to do this one, cause I have to go down to the town clerk's office.
Okay. So why don't I just pick them both up at the same
So
time?
you need February 11th?
February.
No, February 11th. Is that, I got the tape on.
Yeah, it's running.
Yeah, but this is, it's delayed, I guess.
Yeah, it's delayed.
This is you guys talking after the executive session.
Right after?
No, before it.
Oh,
This
really?
is after the executive.
I didn't turn it on
We hear
yet.
everything you've been saying.
Everything.
Oh, yeah, it's all good stuff.
And I don't like being called that word.
Yeah.
I guess you missed the word before that. It's even
No, I
worse.
heard them all.
So I turned it on as soon as we
Those
left the
words.
executive session, because I wanted to do a
Alright.
test. to make sure it was-
Hey, we got everybody? Everybody's here, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna call the West Warwick Pension Board meeting to order on March 11th, 2019 at 18:34 hours.
It's her?
1934.
19:34.
It says running.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm the vote taken in executive session to table item B from executive session today.
Second. The motion.
And seal the minutes.
I'll do that as a separate motion.
Yeah.
Okay, motion made and seconded to table item B1 on the executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to close executive session and seal the minutes from March 11th.
I second the motion.
Hmm?
2 executive sessions, 5.
Two of them.
Oh, there was
Do it
two, I'm
too,
sorry.
Yeah.
Both executive sessions at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock on March 11th.
6 and 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
5 and 6, excuse me. It's been a long day.
That's motion made,
And seconded.
motion made and seconded.
Seconded, yeah.
Seal the minutes. Executive sessions at 6 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for understanding my motion, Mr. Chairman.
You're so emotional today.
You're
At
welcome.
least he got it.
That's okay. All right, prayer. Dear Lord, look over our service people aboard, aboard and overseas and here, over our public safety people, wherever they may be serving, and give this board the power to make wise decisions in regards to our pension system. Pledge allegiance. Flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Albert Hero.
Here.
David Lemoy.
Here.
Helena Tay.
Here.
Fred Gill. Ralph Salmonese.
Here.
Michelle Lombardi. Here.
Okay. Item E, review and approval of the prior minutes meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 11th.
I second.
Motion made, seconded to approve the
Question.
minutes from February 11th, 2019. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, review of Rockland and Clearbrook monthly statements and portfolio status for the previous month. All right. The first one is Rockland Trust. For this period, beginning market value, $32,512,259.97. Change in market value was $669,543.53. Ending market value, $32,860,033.82. From first of the year to the end of February, is a net loss of $62,295.66. Any discussion?
I don't think it's a net loss, it's realized gains and losses.
Yeah, sorry, realized gains and losses.
Beginning of the year was 29,675.
And, yeah,
Now we're
okay,
at
let me just get that, make it clear. At the beginning of the year, we started off with $29,675,200.76. And at the end of February 28th, we were at $32,860,000 Why is it gonna, yeah, but that doesn't make sense.
I don't know what that's supposed to be referring
It
to.
shows a
to be honest.
minus.
It says realized gains and losses, I don't know
Right.
why.
Yeah, but the numbers are the same in both columns, somebody forgot to
The
subtract.
big
Somebody
loss.
subtract.
Yeah.
It should be $62,295.66 less, that's what should be in that end of column there, all right. Any other discussion? Okay, next one is Clearbrook. And hopefully we can read them this one. Let's see. Okay, market value, $37,278,761. The alternatives, they are, looks like, is that 8? It's either a 6 or 8. It's like $6,576,338.
Yes.
And total cash is $2,507,360. This is as of February 28, 2019. Discussion? Okay.
Happy to see the numbers going up though.
Yes.
It's 7.5 year to date.
Okay, item G, discussion and action regarding payments of bills. G1, Olin and Penza, file number MBF 7372, the amount of $1,425.50.
Mr. LaRue, I have a question on that bill.
Okay,
Maybe somebody knows the answer on this board, but I'm looking on the second page of that bill. A little more than halfway down the page, there's a charge for $156. It says,
If it's about the actual charge, I would ask that you discuss that in executive session, if it's discussing the action that was taken. If it's a math charge, then,
if it's what?
if it's just like a math error or something like that, that's totally fine. But if it's content of what the attorney work product is, then I would suggest that you discuss that in executive session, not an open session.
Okay, I guess I can't approve this bill until I find out why this charge is here, no question. So,
everybody see what she's looking
Yeah,
at?
I am looking at that.
I actually, when I looked at it myself the other day,
Why are we
I had the
doing
same
this?
question,
yeah, okay.
probably that you're gonna have.
So,
All right, so motion for this one then is to,
table it until we get an answer to that particular charge.
Second.
motion made and seconded to table item G1 until we, MBF 7372, until we get further explanation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I would recommend that you have
I
the
was just
clerk put it
gonna-
on executive
I was
session
just
for
gonna
next
ask
month.
that. You want me to put it on next
And
month's
put on executive session.
Okay.
Okay, next one is MVF 7372-25, the plan redraft in the amount of $148.
Motion to approve item G, MBF 7372-25.
Second,
Motion made and seconded for MBF 7372-25. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Do they have to amend my total, because my total goes up? Does that matter on the agenda? I totaled the two bills
No,
as a
because-
whole, that doesn't matter.
No, because they just approved the one bill.
Okay.
It's fine at the total.
Just wanted to make sure.
Item G2, Nyhart Corporation, Company. A is Actuary Administrative Services, January 2019. Fire pay replacement analysis, $1,420.
I didn't know what that was. I
Yeah.
put it on there, it came to me, I put it on there. I don't know if this is another one that's the town, I have
I
no
was-
idea.
Tracy, I'm a fireman on the pension board, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the town did something again, like those other bills that I'm waiting for him to
Yeah.
pay, but I wanted you guys to see it.
And I should make a suggestion that,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this one too until next month, and we'll get
Second
answers
motion.
exactly what this was about, okay?
Second.
motion made and seconded to table this until next month and to see if Tracy can get us an exact description of what this bill is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, discussion action regarding Clark application for early retirement with military service credit. Tracy, was it you or Krista that was gonna get the answer for the, what is from the,
I tried to get the answer from HR, I didn't
Get
get
one?
too far, I sent Krista everything
Yeah.
that they had, so she was looking into,
there wasn't
Your
much if I
Sarah.
remember correct, right?
yeah, the military law there.
Yeah, so after the meeting last month, the clerk met with HR and got whatever information that she could about the person's military leave and the use of the vacation and sick time while they were on the military leave to try and help us to calculate the benefit. The person's applying for what amounts to an early retirement benefit, for a deferred benefit, I believe, for when they reach what would have been their normal retirement date. So the question that has come up is there's a few questions actually, and one, it was the person's termination date. And it appears that the person did terminate when they returned back from military service. And they had been using vacation time to cover their contributions for the time that they were out in military service. USERA, it's the Uniform Services Act, yep,
Can I stop you there for a second?
sure.
So if they're gonna use their vacation time, you said?
He used vacation time, yep.
So that puts them working for the town, but they're also getting paid from the government to serve the country.
It does,
So how does that,
because they're allowed to.
okay, so they're allowed to do that, okay.
Yes, so the USERA, which is the statute that affects military personnel,
Right.
does allow the person to have the option of using accrued time. I'm just looking for the provision. So any person whose employment with an employer is interrupted by a period of service in the uniformed services shall be permitted upon request of that person to use during such period of service any vacation, annual, or similar leave with pay accrued by the person before the commencement of such service. No employer may require any such person to use vacation, annual, or similar leave during such period of service.
Okay, so he chose to use it.
He chose to use it, but
Okay.
here's the catch. He chose to use it just to cover his contributions. So it's not as though for the entire time period that the person was out with military service, that the person used full weeks of vacation time or sick time or other accrued time. Human Resources allowed them just to use that time to cover what the contributions would be. So the pension contributions were made and were kept up for the entire time period of the person's military service.
When you say use this time just to cover that, was that saying he didn't work just put in enough hours per day to meet with the requirement, the percentage of their contribution? So if the individual had 12 days vacation and a half a day's vacation would meet the amount of money to cover the pension, that's all they did?
Correct.
So I'm guessing that pension, that amount that they were putting in while they were on service was equal to the pension amount that they were putting in prior to their service.
Correct.
So we're gonna assume that their salary remained the same for that year.
Correct.
Okay.
and that's the catch, is that the calculation becomes difficult because the person did not then return and continue to work a full-time position when they returned from military service. So because the police contract provides for the last 12 months, it's complicated by the fact that this person's, a few months of those last 12 months were not 37 and a half hour weeks.
Right.
They were only, the person is on the payroll, but only for a limited amount of time. So it makes the calculation complicated on the last 12 months of service. The other thing that I don't see in the file is the person's discharge from the armed services,
They didn't,
which is something that we would need to make sure that they qualify for the credit under the pension plan and under
I'll
USARA.
have to call him,
You're
'cause
talking
they
the
didn't have it in HR.
DD 214? That's the form for just,
Discharge.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know the
Yeah,
grounds
okay.
of their discharge,
Yeah.
so that's what we don't have anything.
okay.
We wanna make sure it's all over.
Yeah, that form tells you exactly how they were discharged and what the level was and so forth, yep.
So, my recommendation would be that we obtain the discharge paperwork, from, Mr. Clark. If HR doesn't have it, we can directly ask him for it to make sure that he qualifies for the provisions under the plan. And then the calculation is going to have to occur as to the amount of his benefit. There are protections under the plan and under USERA for the person to receive the salary they would have received. It just becomes complicated because of the way that the vacation time was used.
Does that affect what, under the plan, as far as the definition of service time?
Because it's
Not
military
service
service,
for the country, but service, it's.
for the credited service.
Right,
It
credit.
does not, because the contributions were made and the person.
Doesn't matter if it was, okay,
Right.
All right,
It's-
that's
it's-
fine.
It's not a buyback of service when the person wasn't here, it's service while he was, so
Right.
that part would be okay.
All right.
It's the salary calculation that's complicated by the way that the vacation benefits were used.
because those days that he collected wasn't the full day's pay.
Correct. It wasn't the full week's pay, it was only,
Did the town make the difference or no?
for
No,
the
it's-
pay?
Yeah,
No, he just
because
used.
some employees will do that for service personnel, but I just wanted to make sure the town did or didn't do it.
I don't,
No, you receive no salary.
No.
yeah, he did
Okay.
not receive an actual salary check. The time was used specifically just for the contributions.
So whatever time he discharged, he got paid for that. Right. Which went into his.
Correct, yes, and when that time accounted for his contributions,
Right.
correct.
Okay.
And while he was, in the military that last year, he still would have earned vacation time, right? Vacation time, sick leave time, things like that.
I
Totally.
don't know, I believe
They would-
so, he would still have accrued his
Yeah,
benefits.
because he's still an employee, right?
That is
Right.
interesting, because he was only being paid for these very limited number of hours, so it becomes a very difficult question to answer.
Under the act, does it say anything about that?
That
That the
you,
town or a municipality has to give them or is not required to give them?
they have to allow them to use their benefits, so
Right.
to use accrued time, and they have to give them credit for their pension as to, what their salary would have been had they not been out on
Okay.
military.
Yep,
Which answers the question easily for a full leave of absence where no time is being used, and for a leave of absence where all time is being used.
okay,
The use of
partial.
just partial vacation time to just cover contributions is where this question becomes complicated.
And it's more for figuring out actuarially, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I think we're making too much of it. Just
Right,
give him-
I think
just-
we all understand what
Yeah,
was
just give him
intended.
his last year's salary,
Yeah.
and that's it, move on.
So the decision then is the calculation of when his last 12 months were.
So that's
And
what Nyhart wants to know.
Nyhart needs to know how to calculate the last 12 months for purposes of calculating the retirement benefit. And it would be 3 options that I can think of, which would be, one, his last 12 months. And that would show months of very tiny paychecks, because it was just that little vacation time that went for the contributions, which would be a problem because the contribution was contributed based on what his full salary would have been.
Right.
The other option would be the last 12 months with having Nyhart actuarially calculate what his salary would have been, which was what he made the contributions on,
That's the,
Right,
or it could be the last 12 months prior to his military service.
I like option 2.
yeah, to choose it.
Can you repeat option 2 one more time?
It would be the last 12 months of service of what his salary would have been had he not been on military service, which is what he did make the contributions for.
Okay, I understand what you're
Okay.
saying.
That's the answer.
Any further discussion?
No, we make a motion.
Yep. Someone come up with a motion?
My recommendation would be that the
Oh,
clerk,
we still need to, we tell the.
We still need documentation.
Yeah,
to tell the actuary
Actuary.
to calculate the benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
so,
Need to table
But now
it.
that's, I just want to clarify something. I shouldn't do this because you make a fool of yourself, but I'm going to make the assumption we're all going to pretty much go for option 2.
yeah.
Yes.
The only thing, the question is what that figure is going to be and how NIOC's going to,
Which is, we're gonna make a motion to make.
And you need to get the information on the discharge to make sure that everything is compliant with the
right, there's no
plan.
dishonorable or anything like that, right? So we
So
need to
I'd
put
like
that
to
all in a motion.
Yes, okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we have Nyhart calculate this gentleman's benefit based on his last, his time during the his military time, the 12 months of military time, at the salary that he was making prior to going to military service. Understand?
No.
Yep.
What's that? It would be at his current salary,
Which is,
Right.
not prior, I
that's what I
think.
said, but that was his current salary and his prior salary to military service were the same, so.
No,
Because they based his,
they weren't the same.
They weren't
No.
the same. You would want it at his current salary that he paid his contributions on.
which wasn't the same as his military, I thought we ascertained that it was.
No.
Okay. So his current salary.
What his
yes,
pay
I'm
would have been
sorry.
if he would have been here.
Right,
I
what
have-
his pay
I
would
have
have
to-
been, what his current salary was.
I have input first. I think it's better to get the discharge first before you
Oh.
actually pay the actuary
We're
to,
not, yeah, oh no, they're gonna calculate that,
but isn't there a charge for that?
yeah, $175.
So wouldn't it be better
But-
to find out? the
But Tracy's not
discharge
gonna
before?
send that in until she gets the DD 214
The
form,
discharge pay.
which is the discharge showing that he was honorably discharged, and there's no reason to, when she gets that paperwork, and if that's all clear, then she would send that to the actuary to do it based on 12 months of normal rate of pay, was that last year.
Or do you wanna see the
Oh,
discharge?
no, I don't want to see it. I'm just saying that we think that would be.
Yeah, just hold off until we
First.
receive
That's
the
what I'm saying, if
discharge.
you want me to get the
First.
discharge.
It's easy enough.
That he was cleared.
That way we don't have to wait till next month
Is he
to
waiting
have a
for this,
motion.
or not?
No, he won't be collecting this for a little while. I think
Alright,
it's
so
a
we could-
deferred vested.
All right, so we don't have to get it done for this, to get him his benefits right away,
Okay,
okay.
so
All
He
right.
will be
Wanna do?
receiving benefits
So-
for
No, so
years,
let's-
I think.
Yeah, it'll probably be some years.
And
Yeah.
request his discharge papers.
Or you wanna do that, put him back on, and then we can go from there?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, so make a motion to request, let me amend my motion then. Make a motion to request this gentleman's discharge papers, and to table, any other decision until we receive this,
Second.
until the next month, okay?
Motion made and seconded to receive, if Tracy received his DD 214 discharge papers, and then once we get that, then we'll go back next month and go for our next step for approval of NIHOC to figure out what his pension will be. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item I, discussion, reaction, and action on regarding application for return of contributions from Brian Wall, which is a fire for the amount of $28,787.96.
Is an application in the packet, or did you receive it prior?
Oh, yeah, I think it was on the last one.
Alright.
Remember I had him on the last one?
It's,
It
May I
was
have
tabled.
All
it
right.
is
So
cut
that's
and
his
dried.
figures that came in from the last one,
But it is
that's
in
not
here,
signed
right?
off.
Because I remember
He's
seeing
not
it.
signed off?
I have to call him, so his, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And tell him what I did. He's here.
Make a motion to approve item I pending his approval.
Pending what?
approval.
Oh, okay, pending Brian.
He hasn't signed off yet.
Okay, second,
Motion made and seconded to table item I,
Approve item.
To approve.
I mean, to approve item I,
pending,
pending Mr. Wall's signature. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
Okay. Item J, discussion and action on application received to process Linda Petrarca, normal for the schools on 3/9/2019.
Motion to receive item J1.
motion to seconded to receive item J1.
Motion made and seconded to receive item J1. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item K, discussion and action regarding retirement applications received for approval. Number 1, John Malloy, normal for police, 1/26/2019, in the amount of $3,674.36.
Motion to approve item K1, and with thanks to service to Mr. Malloy for 24 years of service.
Second, that motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve the application retirement for John Malloy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item K2, Ed Mar, Occupational Disability, Department of Public Works, 7/1/2019. What's that?
He did sign off on it. I have it.
Oh, you did get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Edmore did.
They both did.
For the
Motion-
amount, for the amount of $2,549.43.
Motion to approve item K2 with thanks to service to Mr. Marr.
Second, that motion.
Motion made and seconded to approve item K2. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item L, discussion action regarding calculation of COLA benefits for acquired disability retirees. All right. Which one? David or Krista?
I'll let you start.
Okay. So this is a question that has come up for, we have 2 firefighters that have applied and received disability pensions. And a question has come from the actuary about calculation of their COLA benefits. Because in the current CBA, firefighters convert at a certain amount of time from their disability payment that they're receiving to 55% of active salary. The question came up about when the COLA benefits should start, meaning should they start the day the person received the disability pension or should they start the day of the conversion? And what should those pension benefits be as far as the COLA benefits if the COLA benefits were to start before the pension converted? So the actuary had a couple of scenarios. One being that the cost of living benefits didn't begin until the conversion of the disability benefits into the 55% benefits, which would then have the person waiting until they converted and then waiting an additional 7 years before they received a COLA benefit. Another option was having the benefits start to, the clock start ticking when the person receives their disability pension benefit, and then if the person starts receiving COLA benefits before their benefits convert, to have it actuarially calculated what the value of the benefits received before the conversion would be, and then add that to the benefits that the person then received after the conversion. The other option would be to have the COLA benefits start counting from the day the person received the disability pension, and then whatever COLA benefits that they received before the conversion, they received before the conversion, and then to just start the benefits after the conversion with whatever remaining years were left on the 15 years of COLA benefits. So those were the options that the actuary had in the plan, and they asked the board for interpretation of those options as far as what the intent of the plan was toward the COLA benefits for the fire disability retirees. I know that the chair and vice chair have had discussions with the town, but
Okay, yes, we did, and we haven't really got too much further on that.
Basically, you guys need to figure it out for yourselves, kind of
Kinda,
response.
yeah. So, with all the discussions and avenues of trying to get answers from all parties involved, we've come to the conclusion that we just need to make a decision ourselves in administering the plan and come up with a decision. We have had some lengthy discussion on it, and I'm gonna ask right now, on that discussions we have, I believe is what you just repeated was choice number 2?
scenario number 2 was to have the disability benefit start the date of retirement be considered the date the disability benefit started.
That's when the COLA kick in.
Well, the COLAs
Well,
would
the
start
7 year.
counting from that
Right,
day. There would be a
right.
7-year suspension from that time, and then the
Right.
COLA would start to kick in.
Right,
And then at whatever point the conversion happened, whatever COLAs the person had received before the conversion would then be, I'm trying to look at Nyhart's language, but they would actuarially calculate the value of the COLA benefits that had been previously applied before the conversion and add it to the figure after the conversion. That was the second scenario. And then they would continue out whatever was left for the 15 years worth of COLAs.
So in essence, the COLAs get converted along with the base pension benefit.
so they're not losing
They're not gonna
the
lose COLAs, they're
that
just
they've
gonna,
collected.
they're gonna convert to the new
Correct. In that
percentage.
scenario, the actuary would figure out the value of the
Right.
COLAs they had received and would create it to the converted, or excuse me, would add it to the converted salary upon the date that it was converted.
So it wouldn't matter if you collected three COLA increases before the conversion or 10, you're still keeping them, it's not gonna be unfair one way or the other. They're just gonna convert.
Right, yeah, the actuary would figure out whatever that value was, and I don't know
Right.
how they would figure that out. But they'd be able to give us the calculation that they would do to figure out the value of the pre-conversion COLAs, so that they could then add it to the post-conversion salary.
Yeah, that amount would be added, whatever that increase that COLA got over that time period, and then the next one, that would be added to that base.
Correct, then they would
Right.
just receive whatever the remaining COLA benefits
Right.
were on whatever
that-
that
on that
base
base.
salary was.
Right.
Right.
Everybody understand what we've just discussed as far as choice, what we refer to as number 2?
Option number 2.
Option 2.
Yeah, I think, in essence, it's serving the purpose of a COLA, which is to keep up with inflation, where either option 1 or option 3, you're either waiting up to 20, 25, however long, 30 years in some cases to receive a
Yeah.
COLA, which
Yep, which we talked
you're
about.
way
Yep.
behind the 8 ball already, or you're gonna lose COLAs that you receive, which, why would you keep up with the cost of inflation only to lose it
Right.
down the road?
Which is not fair to the individual.
I think option 2, even though what we have on the table is limited as far as what we can use to determine what was intended, I think it's the best option and fairest all around.
Well, the other thing too, as we discussed, if it was an individual that was 1 year, or an individual that was 14 years
Right.
collecting the COLA, it balances out, they do not lose that COLA they've collected.
Right.
So it's in fairness to them and the plan, so. Any other discussion?
Nope. So,
Okay, then open for a motion.
Make a motion to ask our attorney to whatever decision was and present at the next council meeting.
Do we need to do a decision, or just have Tracy and I know which choice we decided out of the three they gave us?
We would need to explain
I think
what
there's
we
an
just
opinion,
said.
yeah,
Okay.
opinion needs, is
So you
warranted.
write the decision then?
Yeah, I would recommend that you have a
This is
pension
gonna-
board opinion.
It's gonna come up
That
again.
this is the
Yeah.
proper calculation of that benefit
Explains
that you
why
can
we-
then provide to the
Okay.
actuary.
It could be 5 years from now with a different board and a different attorney, and they're gonna figure, why did they come up with that
Right, okay.
and why? So I think an opinion is definitely warranted.
So I'd like to make a motion then that we have our attorney write up that pension board decision opinion. The option 2 that we discussed, and present it at the next, put it on the agenda for the next board meeting so that we can ratify that opinion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to have the attorney draw up the pension board's decision for option number 2 under the NAHART proposals for next month, so we can vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item M, discussion and action regarding bids received pursuant to the RFQ for legal counsel. In regards to questions and decisions that we talked about to make a thing, I haven't got some answers back yet, so I request that we have a motion to table it to next month, and hopefully I can get some of those questions answered before we take that vote that we talked about.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we table item N to next month.
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to table item M till next month. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item N, discussion action regarding calculations for COLA benefits for the non-union employees. All right. This one we've had many meetings with individuals in various sections of the town. We've had discussion over many meetings here, whether in executive session or open session regarding this. The question on some of the individuals is, or basically, maybe I should say, I don't know if I can say all, but where do the individuals fall under? Do they fall under a certain particular, like for instance, administrative handbook? Or do they fall under municipal guidelines, police and fire guidelines? That we haven't really had a good clear answer on it. When we take an individual which had nothing in writing and started to apply one to the other, we find either contradictions or where they say they fit here, but then it refers to that, and that's vague, it's not given a clear answer. Am I correct so far?
So far.
All right. So we haven't been able to get some answers back. I did have a long meeting with HR in regard to 2 of them, 2+ hours. And we went through all of the different languages and everywhere. And so I said, I don't think it's fair to the employee for this board to make a decision when there's nothing in writing. I think the town should tell us what their opinion of how this employee was to be represented. That suggestion was, I saw the emails were sent out, and till this date, there's been no answer back. So, at this point, since we administered a plan, I think we should do similar to what we've done to the others, and so this doesn't carry on any further, is come up with a decision, on I guess we're gonna have to do this on a individual basis as the questions come in or the problems present themselves. Because I don't know if we can do a one thing fits all situations. Some have,
Correct.
some have a contract that they had with the town, even though they were non-union employees, and some didn't that, so I think we're gonna have to take it as a one-by-one basis and just start making decisions ourselves, and have you draw up that opinion stating why, like you said, David, so if somebody questions it down the road, why did you do it for this type of situation, for this individual, come up with this decision? That being said,
You have 2 employees in this condition now?
I
Just
think we
one?
have 2, right? Mr. Chief Barris is one.
He's the only one you're
That's it.
making the
Only one, I
decision
thought,
on right
okay.
now.
All right, so can we do something with him tonight so that, we have to, what we talked about, we need to decide the COLA issue and the amount, and
Well, I guess basically which pension plan he belongs under. So,
what, not so much the plan, but which, is it the employees administrative handbook, or in some parts referred to municipal, so it comes up to the percentage of the COLA, and is there a suspension or not? Basically, I think that's those 2 things in a nutshell that we just have to come up with a decision on. And
But I think the handbook only references you to
just says the plan,
refer to the plan for COLA
Right.
schedule.
right,
Now, the question is whether
where does he
the
fit
chief
in
of
that
the fire
plan?
department fit under the police and fire plan, which I believe he would, or the other than police and fire plan, because it's different.
Different
COLA
language.
schedule.
And then
Right.
there was still an issue as to how the CDA applies in this situation, right?
The consent judgment.
Now, consent
Not,
judgment.
the consent, yeah,
Correct.
CBA, the consent judgment, right.
Because the consent
Consent
judgment
judgment.
modified both plans, correct?
So,
I believe, well, they each have their own,
Right, they have different consent.
but the consent judgments are in cases filed by the unions.
Exactly.
So I have not researched the issue of,
okay.
you know, what the different options are as far as what the COLA calculation could be. The COLA provisions in the 2006 police and fire plan, the 2006 plan excluding police and fire, and both consent judgments are all different.
Okay, so, I'm gonna make a motion to ask for the,
All right, but we do have to, then I guess there's a couple things that your first answer is where we're gonna place him, then have to determine which consent judgment's gonna affect the answer for those questions that we're looking for.
Correct.
It's a motion to have legal counsel research the topic and come up with an opinion to present to the board next meeting.
second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to have legal research the consent judgments for the police and fire and excluding police and fire, and come up with some recommendations where the individual would fall into this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item O, discussion and action regarding questions from school department regarding part-time employment post-retirement. Previous to 06 plan, it was stated that an employee could come back, work for the town, X number of hours, max, X number of dollars per year, max, before it would affect the individual's pension. In the 06 plan, there is no mention of that. Well, actually, it says you can't. So we feel that that was overlooked. It was just a mistake. Somebody didn't realize that in language. I need to, I haven't got an answer. That's what I can do for research. What I found so far is Mr. Flory is the one who did that through an ordinance to create that, so we'll go back to him and see if that was the intent, if it was just a overlook and a mistake, and see if we can get that he can make an amendment to that ordinance and present it to council for approval. There is people that are working for the town that have come back. Basically, they're in violation of it, but like I say, we don't think that the intent was to not do that. We just think that was oversight, so we just want to get that rectified in writing so that's no question on it down the road, because that question does come up now, because right now it says they can't. So you just need to table that till next one and see if I can get a hold of Mr. Flory. He goes to Florida a lot, which is okay, but I wish he'd take me.
We'll get a hold of them.
I'll stick you in the trunk of the car.
Someone has to make that motion.
I'll
Motion
push it.
I'd like to make a motion that we ask Mr. Flory?
Di Fiore.
Fiore, yeah.
Di Fiore,
Yeah,
to make an amendment to the 2006 pension plan, to clarify that part-time employment, post-retirement is allowed up to the maximum that's in the ordinance.
what was originally in there.
That was,
Second.
Motion made and seconded to, you want Tracy to do that?
Yes, please.
You don't mind doing that, Tracy?
You contact Mr.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
okay.
contact them.
All right, have Tracy to contact Mr. D. Flory and see if he can, if that was an oversight in doing their 06 plan and get an ordinance to amend that and get that in,
Yep.
put the language to match what it used to be. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I think the next one is still waiting, so.
Item B, discussion and action regarding pension board opinion request forms. 2018-4, when can a department head retire on the municipal? Emails received from wastewater with a question when a municipal department head can retire. That, if I remember, in emails, was not an easy answer, correct?
No, you're waiting for HR because there's a little.
We haven't got it, yeah.
No, I know, so you might as well table it.
Yeah, but there,
There's no application on
No.
file. There's
no,
rush
no,
of-
but it's just, we're not,
This might be the one though that HR said might not be a department head, so you better just table this and clarify, remember?
yeah, I didn't talk to her with this one.
I think I have an email.
Have an email, because I can't get an answer right now from her because she's out right now, so, how long are we gonna table it though? I mean,
Until we get information.
yeah, I understand that,
You
it's been carrying on, I'm just
I
trying
can
to,
keep it off the
Yeah,
agenda
we'll
until
just-
you get
Well-
information,
um,
or you can keep it on and whatever.
let me just think for a second. Wastewater falls under municipal, so, the department head in the union? No,
No.
right. So, are we at a situation similar to T. Barris as far as, does this individual have a
person's not-
contract that he's
this
working,
person-
just hired without anything? Like Mr. Barris?
I'm not
I don't
100% sure.
Okay.
This is just the
Because if
question that
there's-
was asked.
If the individual, well, first question then is, did the individual start in wastewater, work way up till it became administration and came out of the union?
Mhm. But not at wastewater.
Okay, so it was in union, but it's not in anymore.
Mhm.
All right. Usually what the town does when something like that happens, unless they put something in writing different, and if I'm wrong, tell me, is just continue with the same language and benefits they were receiving when they were in the
Usually.
union. So if that's the case, then the retirement should be the same.
Should be.
For municipal being represented by the union.
Right. Because he originally was in the
Yeah,
union.
whatever they had prior, they
Whatever
usually
they had,
just,
they normally
I'll
just,
take the job, but don't change any of my retirement type of thing,
all that stuff stays the same.
usually.
The only
you would
thing that
expect.
changes is, whatever they have for the pay scale for that position, but that's already decided by the council anyway.
This is what the past practice has been, so
Right.
we go
So,
by that,
my thought pattern is
even
that,
if it's not in that.
you should be able to retire
specific.
based on what's in their collective bargaining agreement, because you should be falling under that, correct?
We don't know.
Is he gonna fall in administrative handbook, or are we gonna go back to the municipal? Or, and then if that's the case, are we gonna have a problem with the judgment, consent judgment?
Those are all
The
good
effects
questions.
that may.
We don't have a retirement application at this point. and-
No.
And I don't think we know the answers to those questions. I don't know if the person
Right.
has a contract, I don't know what
I think
benefits.
we're just spinning our wheels, honestly.
All right, so
I-
this is just wants to know when they can retire.
Good question for their human resources department.
All right, well, then, I hate to do it this way, but I think our motion to have Tracy respond back to this individual and have the individual contact HR to get an answer.
Did you already do that?
I think we did.
we gave her
Did
an
you-
answer,
Yeah,
and she,
expanded.
yes, because we really didn't give her an answer.
Right.
So I can try to just say, go to HR.
Has she responded back since then?
No,
Because
she probably sees it on, I'm assuming, the agenda, I'm not
without
really
a,
sure.
without say, a tentative date that they're thinking of doing, and then looking at documents,
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll just.
normally
there's really no answer.
We can come up with an
Wait till we get an
opinion and then
application.
things change 5
So
years
I'll
from now.
Right,
just
the
send it
opinion
to
would be-
HR, make that motion.
But we've done that, right? What you're saying, I think? I
No,
remember we did,
You sent her a copy of the plan and the
I
handbook.
think that's what we did, we sent
Right.
a copy of the plan and the administrative handbook, but
Alright.
it still didn't answer the
Okay.
question.
The-
Okay, so we.
the next step is to
tell her to go to HR for the answer to the
If I
question.
make that, yeah, just put it in.
see
the
what
motion.
HR gives her for an answer.
Alright, so motion,
Yeah,
just,
can we,
I'd like to make a motion in that we have Tracy, refer this individual's question and the individual, to HR for an answer on, when they actually can retire.
Second.
hold on. I don't write that fast.
All in favor?
Oh, I know she does, but that's shorthand, and I can't read it either. Okay, motion made and seconded, have Tracy send the individual question, a letter asking the individual to go to HR to get an answer, a more definitive answer than what the information we sent her with the contracts. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Oh, good. Item Q, discussion action regarding grant, am I saying this right? Granite
Granicus
System
System.
contract and allocation of expenses. All right.
So I actually read that contract, sir.
Yeah,
And
okay, you start then, since
And
you,
when it comes to whether or not we have any recourse on collecting money back if the system doesn't work for a month or so, the answer is no. We don't. We, all Granicus is required to do is to get somebody over here, quickly to fix the problem. And we have no way of getting any money back from them. The contract doesn't allow it. So-
well, I disagree only to a certain point. If you look at, they charge for the service.
Mhm.
The agreement they had with, that was signed by Mr. Presley, but I believe it was with, who was in finance at the time?
Sanino?
Was that the percentage, he figured out the percentages of what each individual section used,
Yeah, we don't.
and came up, took the figure and took that percentage, and that's how the individual departments were charged.
Yes.
So they're providing a service to the town
Yes.
and charging for it.
Yes.
that service is not provided at any given time, then there should be a recourse of getting some money back or giving a credit for the next quarter that you pay for.
Okay, so here's the question, there's like a, the state of Rhode Island must have like an implied services law where if we're expecting something, we should get it, and if we don't, there should be some kind of recourse for that, right?
I just got the contract when we got here tonight, so I didn't have a chance to look at it at all.
I gotta tell you, the contract is pretty specific about, that if something isn't working, Granicus's only, action is to come over here and get it fixed as quickly as possible. That's it. There's not a word in there about any kind of repayment for any kind of service not provided.
I have input on here. On section 3.2, it states that the client acknowledges that the product may be delivered and fully operational, separate from the other purchased product. So it needs to be fully operational, and it's
Yes.
not.
But if it's
But the question
but it
is,
was
when it's
delivered.
not, what happens?
Over here, it says the client will have 15 days to notify them of any problems, and that they will work to fix those issues or problems.
That's it.
So there's
That's
no-
what it says.
yeah.
We'll work to fix it.
Just-
It won't say, it doesn't say that we're gonna give you any money back for, the fact that we charged you for a whole month for the service, and it didn't work for 15 days, we're not giving you anything back.
Just because it's not in the contract doesn't mean they won't do it anyway, which I believe they have in the past. I mean, if you go to
If you
Home
ask them
Depot and you
nicely.
buy something and it doesn't work, the receipt might say, you know, so-and-so needs to be returned in good working or whatever. Just being a good customer service company, they may just say, we'll take care of next month for you because we understand that last month wasn't working.
If we ask nicely, it might happen, but.
But, I mean, what about increase of 3% every year? That's a lot of money.
Well,
That's,
we
Well,
did not
that we-
negotiate that contract.
We
That's
had no
out of
say
our hands.
in any of it, we were never even asked. The percentages, all that was done,
Why are you paying for it? If you weren't asked, why are you paying for it?
we've had no say into it, we've never, to my knowledge, before, people, was never approached, and you've been here the longest, David, right?
Right, now,
Okay.
we were told, we have a new video system, use it,
Yeah.
and then they sent us a bill. And we said the same thing last time, why are we paying for this?
I don't have my copy in front of me,
it's
but
quite an
there it-
embarrassment to taxpayers and the pension board and everyone that uses it.
When does that contract expire?
I'm looking for a
Okay.
date on it.
Why are you doing that?
Okay,
Well, it was started in like 15, right?
June, so 2015 is when we started it, and does it?
It talks about it to increase every year, but I
Right,
don't know.
but I don't see a date, I think it's,
Page
Yeah.
4 at the bottom.
four, it says termination.
Yep. I think,
Termination, 36 months, so 2008, June of 2018. And then this agreement shall automatically renew in perpetuity for terms of 1 year each unless each party notifies the other in writing at least 30 days prior to such automatic renewal that the party does not wish to renew this agreement. So.
You have no input
Yes.
into that contract,
So,
correct?
so in other words, we have on 30 days
That's
prior to
right.
June 2019, we can ask them to terminate the contract, but
Yes.
not prior to that.
But you can't negotiate
Yeah,
it as a
the
pension
finance
board.
director, whoever's signing this.
So why don't you just tell the town and take a motion on the board and tell the town you are not paying for this service for these amount of months? They'll eat it. Say, we took a vote, it wasn't working for these 2 months, we want to be reimbursed, we're not paying you for these 2 months. Make a vote and bring it back to the town. That's it, that's the end of it. Because you have no negotiation skills as far as that contract. You have to do what the town directs you to do.
My
You're
only
going to
concern,
have an equal share in the system
My only
that is not
concern-
operable.
my only concern is that, I agree, I don't think we should be paying for it, but I do think that we should have the service, because there's a lot of people that
There are
use the
other
service.
options. Yes.
There's retirees that live out of state that rely on this service. I don't wanna say, let's not pay it, and then the town say, all right, no more pension meetings are gonna get streamed. That's the only thing we risk by saying we're not gonna pay it
I
anymore.
think you might have to in the state law.
You don't have
The
to.
town has a system.
The,
That I don't know.
Tracy, I started doing it, but Tracy got way ahead of me, so she ended up doing it before I could even get through all of it. But there's 2 months
I think we found 2 in
2 months in
17.
17,
I
that-
don't know, we haven't written
that-
down. I
it's
don't
written
think
down.
it's
That wasn't recorded.
We'll do it formally.
and last month, that wasn't recorded.
We'll do it formally, though.
Um,
It might have been 1 in 18.
So we
but
have a
it's-
list of the dates where the system didn't work. The bill that we have for 600 and change is they billed for 3 months ahead at a time, a quarter at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tabled that already, what, twice now, I think. This would be the third time. What I want to do is, and I
Yeah,
talked
so
to Tracy
far we're
about
not
this, is
paying
get a contact number or somebody to call and find out in a nice way with Pooh Bear's biggest jug of honey he has, to see if the time periods that we have listed where there was no recordings, get that subtracted off this quarter and pay the difference out of that. And I already wrote myself a note to, since that renewal clause is 1 year, and apparently I don't think anybody is, unless somebody shows me something different, looks at it and approves it for each year, or just gonna let it go forever. I'm gonna call Mr. Gaza and find out if, how that's being done, if somebody's looking into it or not, and then, if not, at this point, see what our options are to either renegotiate it, or, as a couple of you have already mentioned, other systems out there that might be less money, and then if we do negotiate that, make sure that we get involved in those.
I absolutely think that the town should renegotiate at least that 3% increase, because that should not be given unless we're getting 100% service here. You know, if we're not getting service, and then they should not be getting a 3% increase. The other thing is, and that is generous, as Michelle mentioned, that's in this time, right now, that's a pretty generous increase. The other thing is, I don't think we can call Granicus ourselves. It really needs to be the finance director, because it was a finance director that signed this contract, so it should only people who actually sign a contract should be talking to Granicus, not us.
No, I believe,
So you need to talk to, have her call.
I think, if I remember correct, when I read that, Mr. Presley signed a contract, but the finance,
Okay, let's go
he's
into.
negotiated
All right, so then that's the
the
town manager.
percentages in that.
He's the
Right.
town manager at the time?
Right,
All right, so
so this town manager would be the one that
we
to
have
call.
to, we need to call them and ask them for some kind of
Michelle has a question.
No, it's not.
rebate.
Since this contract's 4 years old, can you send a request to the town asking them to put our RFQ for it?
I don't see why
Why
we
can't they
can't.
rebid on it?
They could.
Right now, we're going year to year.
Right.
Yes.
I'm
Until
talking
somebody
about
says
30
something.
days for 30 days. You're not going year to year.
No, the
No,
renewals,
it-
Each term says 30 days.
No, it says a 1-year
It's just 30 days
renewal.
notice to cancel.
Auto-
so-
30 days
notice to
prior
cancel
to the
once that
start of the
contract
next
expires.
year's renewal.
Right, prior to
So
the
what I would
renewal,
do
so
is ask them
1 year.
to send out an RFQ
That's a 1-year renewal.
to get more bids on it. I'm sure there's better bids out there.
Yeah, that's gonna be my recommendation, or my suggestion, not quite sure what word to use. But getting credited for the 3 months is not the real issue here.
No.
Getting service that works
Yeah.
and is,
and getting a contract
competitive
with
wage,
a better.
competitive,
Yeah.
pricing is way more, important
Hmm.
than what we're
Okay.
getting. And I think that it needs to be presented to the council immediately, well in addition to that, date of it expiring. This way here, you can have other options available and make recommendations of what everyone feels would be the best interest to get the best service at the best
All right.
price.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do it very quickly, because
Right,
we've
so-
we've got 2.5 months or so to make a
Is
decision.
it calendar year or fiscal year?
It starts, the contract started on June 24th, 2015. So we would have to tell them by May 24th, 2019, that we're going to not renew for 2019.
See, my only concern is we may have I think we are in agreement here, and we all think that the town should renegotiate, but we may give this all to them, and they go, yeah, we don't care, we're not gonna renegotiate. I think what's gonna raise the most, or cause the most, controversy is if we say, we're not paying the bill until you renegotiate. So I don't wanna not pay the bill and then them have you know, we can't have the service shut off either. But
But it's
if they're not
already-
even gonna talk to us
Says
about
there
it,
anyway.
yeah. if
It's
they're
not, it's not guaranteed anyway.
Yeah, well, most of the time it has.
The way that contract's written, that equipment is theirs. So as
It's the
long as it's
council's.
there and they're doing it and they're abiding
So
by
it's
their
granted,
contract, and if we call them, they got 15 days to come and fix it, we
You could have
almost
already
really
had
have to
like
pay it.
The
5
town
meetings
knows
in
about
15
this
days.
problem. The last town council meeting, it didn't record anything. So town council knows there's a problem
Right.
with this system. They do. And like David said, it's gonna fall on deaf ears if you people just go to the town council and say, look, we got a problem, and you need to renegotiate this contract, and they're gonna say, well, we do the negotiating, you have no say in it, but you're gonna pay your fluff. So if you refuse to pay the bill or say, look, we want the finance department to write the pension board a check for the 3 months that it was not working, we wanna be reimbursed. You're forcing this down our throat, that's fine, if we have to pay this, because we need the system for public viewing and all that. But we want to be reimbursed by the finance director who negotiated this contract, whether it was Mr. Chimino or this new lady that's there, and say, we want to be reimbursed, we'd like a check made out to the West Warwick pension for the 3 months, and give them the months that didn't work, so you have it on record. We want to be reimbursed. Please, direct this attention to the finance director and have a check made. That'll get their attention. By going to talk to them, you're not gonna get any.
You just say, we feel that it's unacceptable, the communications is unacceptable.
Right.
For
And-
everyone
And
involved.
I honestly think if they do say, or if they threaten, we're gonna shut the service off for the pension board, I think we can probably get a few pensioners that'll show up at a council meeting demanding that.
Can't we do like live?
Can you get another company?
No problem.
Right. I don't think none of the money should be coming out of the pension fund regardless, period. It shouldn't be. It's for viewing. That's a town
That's
service.
a town service to
Can
the
we,
constituents.
I mean, can't we just do like Facebook viewing live
Yeah, if we could, if we had to resort to that, I'm sure we could do something like that, you know.
until,
But it's just, you know,
For right now, we got this system, so we gotta deal with it, we gotta come to something.
but like they said, you gotta do something that's gonna shake people up.
As long as it's here, the town's responsible for the bill that comes.
Town.
The town is. But the contract is spelled out that they, Mr. Presley signed, what the percentages are gonna be for each one. In their infinite wisdom, whoever come up with that, I don't know, but the problem is, because it puts it into a budget, but we do not have a budget here.
Are you an autonomous group?
yes.
Say that again?
You work as separate from the town council? You're an autonomous group, correct? You make your own decisions, you don't have a budget, but you make your own decisions, okay? If you had no input into this system that the town installed, and they forced it down your throat under some contract, they divvied it up amongst all the boards that sit at this
Here.
meeting, okay? That's not your problem. That's the town of West Warwick's problem. They chose to have that system. And it's a good system, so the constituents that cannot attend the meetings can view it from their home, okay? It should not be coming out of the individual budgets or a pension plan where you don't even have a budget. It comes out of the proceeds that, his contributions and the regular policemen and firemen and DPW that are working, and it's forced down your throat. That shouldn't happen. It should go to the town council saying, we refuse to pay it. And if they shut it off, oh well, see you later.
Can't we just
Let them deal with it, and I'll go to the town council and talk to them.
not pay it?
Well, we
Refuse to pay it.
We haven't paid it yet, we've had the bill for 3 months.
Force their hand.
They
Don't
haven't
pay it.
paid, don't pay it.
Well,
You
There's
have to pay it.
one question that pops to mind, bill-wise, is, does the town cut a check to them and then pull it out of each individual budgets? Or
We don't
do
have,
they wait until, do each individual person have to pay to them directly? It seems to me the contract is with the town.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
assume
so
the town
why-
pays
When
it.
town pays it, I
We
believe the bill
reimburse the
we
town.
receive is from the town.
So
Doesn't
what,
finance send you a bill every
Yes.
3
That's,
months?
that
Right.
bill.
And then you guys approve that to pay the finance department?
Right.
yeah, so what if you just put it in a statement, we are no longer paying the Granicus bill?
Take a
we
vote.
can't approve it.
There's 5 years. Take a vote. You have that right. You're the board. You can
The
do anything
question
you
I
want.
have is, when the finance came up with those percentages and Mr. Presley
sign that contract with them, which has that broken down by departments and percentages, are we legally bound because of that?
I haven't reviewed the contract, but I don't think the contract has the percentages for the boards. I think that was a separate email by the finance director.
Well, in the
All right,
meantime.
so
we
if that's
can-
not,
Yeah.
if that's not in the
That was
contract,
divvied up because they were running out of money.
Right.
And they needed more money coming in.
I haven't
That's
looked
why
at the
you did it.
contract. I just got it tonight, but I don't think it's in there.
I didn't see it.
Alright. I'll motion to refuse to
No,
pay
I
the
think we
bill.
should take a vote.
I
and have
second
vote.
it.
That's what I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
Motion to refuse to pay the bill.
I second it.
Okay.
motion made and seconded. 2,
Two.
refuse to pay the bill that we received from, that was the town, you said, correct, Tracy?
Yes.
Regards to the Granicus system. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I think, I don't know, I'm not quite sure on this stuff, but would it be best to make a motion to notify them that we are no longer paying the bill, so that they're aware that there is an issue in the future, that not only we're not paying that one, but
Well,
not
Well,
paying
The
any
motion
future
was
ones.
made, we can't
I'm going to sit
change
down
it.
and talk with Mr. Goslin, one way or another, and we're gonna discuss all of
It's the
this,
same as denying it.
and put our opinion forward as forcefully as I can. And if, depending on the outcome of that, then if I have to, then
But I mean,
I will go
should
to
it
the
look
next
better?
council meeting and go from there.
I mean, would it look better that it's specifically stated, as opposed to, we're not just paying it, with them not knowing why?
Yeah, we should justify what we're saying, we just can't say refuse to pay it,
Right,
that's it,
so they
right?
need to.
I'm
they
sure
should
they're
have
gonna ask.
Further information. No, but I'm saying.
No,
we need
really?
information.
No,
Well,
but I
I
mean,
know they know why, but I
Yeah.
mean, just for the record,
Yeah.
well, we didn't say we were notifying them, we just said we refused to pay it.
And they're gonna maybe hold us in contempt.
Maybe they can review their wonderful Granicus system and find out why.
I don't know, I think it's important to make a statement.
At this
I'm not
time.
Don't
doing
get paid
anything.
anyways, no big deal.
You could move to send a letter to the town council that explains what you voted on.
They'll look at Granite,
Do
they'll
that.
see why you're not
They-
paying.
It may not be working.
Well, that's
If
what I
we
looked,
approve
I got blue here, but I got red there, but as long as the blue's on, it's working.
I guess it's
The
working.
Well,
motion
there's
is
no blue
made.
there, but-
That was working
Did
earlier.
we vote on
I
this?
started it
forget.
early so I could have you look.
Yeah. that
Well, I
was-
couldn't get in, but
I got
You
it.
were probably commenting.
They were,
It was
at the
working.
town council meeting, there were 3 people under the desk trying to get it.
Did we vote on, this
Me?
motion?
Yes.
No, she wasn't at the
It's
time.
I
working.
forget.
No, but I had that problem last month.
Hmm.
They were doing the same thing.
Did we vote on your motion?
And we
Yes.
didn't get it, Mark, did we?
Neither did they.
Oh, okay.
well, the problem we found out is that the button, the board, they pushed the button too hard and the board circuit board behind all broke, so they had to take it apart, take the whole thing out and send it out. So it wasn't gonna work anyway, so, but nobody knew that.
They should get a new system.
Yeah, I agree.
Right,
Closed caption.
do we wanna send, an explanation, yes or no?
There's no closed caption.
I agree to send it.
And I'm looking in that
I
may
think
be
it should be
violation.
detailed and
You want a
all.
motion?
No, well, we get the motion that we're not gonna pay it. I just whether or not we tell the council why or not.
You're gonna have, yeah, tell them why, you're the
Okay.
chairman.
So,
When you,
I'm gonna call them, but, I guess you want us to
Shouldn't it
put
be
something in
part of the-
writing there?
Shouldn't it be part of the record to show that we're?
If you're gonna call them, just
I'm gonna
tell them.
sit down with them one way or another and
It's
talk
on
to them,
video.
yes.
No,
Yeah, you can
no,
explain
no,
it.
no,
why,
What is the purpose of this?
why we did it, why we voted, how we voted.
Yeah, I think you voted.
That's no problem.
Let's just make this, here,
I think it's a good vote.
I don't think we need a motion to do this. Tracy, can you just send a letter to the town council telling them at this date and time that we refuse to pay this bill that we received for the Granicus?
to
Period.
the town council or finance?
No, do it
Town.
do it to the council. Well, if you wanna CC for finance, that's fine,
And the manager.
and the manager. And just that we refuse to pay it, and period. Just leave it like that. That
Just that
will,
quick.
Services are
Simple
inadequate.
Yep. and we'll leave it like that. And in the meantime, like I told you, I'm gonna get hold of Mr. Coughlin and go down and talk with him, and see if we can get somewhere.
They really should put out another RFQ as quickly as possible.
Well, that's not us for them, but I'm gonna put forward all our concerns, and if I don't get anywhere that way, I'll go to the next council meeting. That's all.
We've already-
Other than
already
that, there's
been
not
a
much more we
public
can do as a
comment.
board here, for that part, because we don't really have a lot of say into it. All right, moving on. Item R, public comment.
Public comment.
Before you,
I always
before you start, I didn't see you last month, and I was really getting concerned.
My wife had the cochlear implants, so I was in the hospital with
What's
her.
she doing?
Doing good, they're gonna be activated Friday, so
Really?
keep your fingers crossed.
That's exciting.
So, yeah, it is exciting, yeah. First time in 40 years she'll hear this voice.
Imagine that.
She'll shut those babies off real quick.
I wish I had that.
I'm sorry.
So what'd you say, Kevin?
She doesn't know what she's missing.
Yeah, I think she does. Reference to that NIOT bill you received, I might be able to shed some light. I know you're gonna talk to the town about that, about the $1,400 they charge.
The fire,
Yeah, they did an audit, and the auditor was here the other day. And on one of the pages, it said about expenditures, and there were a few departments that were over, and I noticed the fire department was one of them. And I think it was referenced to overtime. So they might have asked NIHOT to do an analysis of overtime for this audit they did.
And they should pay for it.
Correct, exactly, that's what I'm trying to say, right. That's their responsibility, not
Wait a
yours.
minute, wait a minute, let me just
But we'll find out though.
see if I understand what you're saying. The auditors came, audited,
Correct,
nothing to do with the pension board.
correct. They did a
They found over expenditures in the fire department,
few departments, but the
Yeah, or
fire
few.
department was there, correct.
and they asked NIAR to do what?
Well, I assume they asked NIAT because NIAT would probably be the only people that could do it in an orderly fashion to say, hey, why is the fire department costing us so much overtime? So they asked them for an analysis of the fire department's budget, of why there's so much overtime, I assume, right? Because that's one of the departments, I guess.
So you're saying the council asked NIAR to do this?
I am assuming, and you know what happens when you assume.
you know what I mean? It wasn't
But
us.
it gives a pretty good indication why that bill's on there now, because they might have asked them. And I don't know, and I don't know what the town, can the town, do you sign a contract with NIAT, or does the town of West Warwick? Is it the pension board?
I believe it's the board. I don't know who's saying it.
No, you went out for Clearbrook, you went out,
You went out for an RFP for NIAT and several, because,
We did for sure, and I'm trying to remember who signed
Correct.
the
I think the
contract.
chairman signed it.
I don't remember, I honestly
Was
don't
it-
remember. I mean,
was it
we can
us
find
signed
out.
it?
I think it was.
yeah,
Either way.
when I was there, it was us that signed it.
Either way.
Because
Okay.
they did all the actual services for the pension board, and it came out of the pension fund, so we signed the contract with them. And every so many years, we went out for an RFP, and then if we got a new one we liked, we signed it. That's how it used to be. I don't know if they changed it, but I think it's still the same scenario. So my question is, if the town did this, and they went behind the board's back to use NIAT services, can they do that? Because you're an autonomous group. Can they just call up NIAT on a whim and ask them to do a calculation for the town? And you're pretty savvy up here, but it could, you could get a bill from NIAT, $1,300, and say, okay, we approve to pay it.
And that's happened before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do they have the authority to
I think
do
the
that?
answer is, yeah, of course, they can go to whatever company, actuary they want. They happen to choose Nyhart, and Nyhart mistakenly, I think, just bills us for it. I think that's what happened previously. We had some calculation that the town requested Nyhart to do, and Nyhart goes, oh, West Warwick, I know where to send that, and it comes here. Just, and we have to catch it.
They might have their own contract too. I just
They
don't,
could.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a Nyhart issue where they send it to the wrong
Departments.
department.
Something to look into, because you're getting billed for something the town wants, and if they have a separate contract with NIAT,
We have to watch them.
yeah, you do. I mean, it can get costly, as you say. What was that, $1,400?
She was looking into.
my other concern is,
Good thing we're sharp, right?
Why-
It is, absolutely. That's what I always said about you people.
As a taxpayer, why is the town hiring somebody, outside firm, to do a job that the department head should be able to answer?
Or the finance, yeah.
taxpayer.
Absolutely, yeah.
If there's a concern about any particular department in the town, they have department heads that should be able to come up and answer those questions. If they can't answer right away, look into it and come back with an answer, report it to the
I
council.
understand that the purpose of an audit is to have an independent person taking a look at these
Right.
things, okay?
Okay, so, all right, if that's the case, then let's still, we still shouldn't pay for it, no.
And my next question is, when you do the ARC every year, is it the pension board that sends NIAT the figures? Or is it the pension board that sends NIAT the figures to calculate the ARC?
No, it's Clearbrook does, calculates the ARC.
No.
No,
NIHART.
no, NIAT does.
That's the actuary.
Right.
Clearbrook is just.
Clearbrook just does
Oh,
invest,
but
right.
Clearbrook is sending them the money, sending them the information, because we're not.
I mean, there's a lot of,
Somebody
there's a
from the
lot of
town.
information for them to
Somebody from the
digest. I know,
I mean,
like,
Clearbrook is sending that.
they'll have to refer to
HR.
retirement schedules based on contracts. You know, whether they get that from us or the town. There's a lot of things that they have to pump into that projection, that some of it's coming from Clearbrook, how much money is in the fund on this day, how much is going, how much went out last year, what was the numbers, what was the year-to-date return. So some of it's coming from us, I would say, and
Number
some
of
of it's coming
retirees
from.
now versus a year ago.
Right,
Right.
so my next question is, do you get a statement from NIAT every so often stating how much the pension is funded, percentage-wise? Is it 26%, 22%?
That's that annual
The annual
valuation
report tells
report.
us that.
That's the annual.
They give us what's the ARC next year, and here's what the
That's in
funded
December.
status is. That's that
Yeah, yeah,
report we
yeah.
get every year.
Okay.
That was this month, or this past year was December's report, I think,
December.
if you want
So
to
it's,
look at it.
under this, it's 22% funded? Is,
I got it somewhere, but that's,
So-
there's two numbers they
Yeah.
use. There's the funded status, and then there's the actuarial status, and one's a blended
okay.
number.
But it's less than 1% apart, usually.
Typically, yeah, because it's day to day, it changes. So
Right.
I try to give you, here's what it was on this day, and here's what it was if you spread that,
Okay,
to give you a more average, I guess, number. So
okay.
they always give us both.
And my
It's
one,
I think it's market and actuarial. if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken.
that answers that question. One last thing.
Wouldn't be able
In 2017, your administrative expenses were $68,000. You did a good job that year. Year before that was like 164,000. Year before that was 194,000. This year was 108. Why such a jump in administrative costs from 68,000 to 108? And do you get a breakdown so you can see where your problem is? That's quite a big increase from one year, from $68,000 from administrative costs to now it's 2018, you're at 108. So I was just wondering, do you track that? Because 2 years before that, you were at the high number, and we went around that, and we talked, David, you saved money, and I thought it was great. Got it down to 68,000. I'd like to get it down to zero, but it was at 68. Now it's back up to 108. Prior 2 years before 2017, it was 164, I believe, and 184, whatever those numbers, they were high.
I think it was over 2 at some point, I mean, years ago.
Yeah, I just looked back to two previous years, and it was, like I said, 180, 160, dropped down to 68. And my question is, do you track that and say, wow, why did we have such a jump in 2018 compared to 2017? What changed?
Maybe it's the transactions, like.
What kind of
the amount
transactions?
quick here, I guess,
The amount of work and.
Well, most of your administrative costs are fixed.
we ought to know.
Clearbrook is a basis point on the investment, that's the only thing I was thinking. I know that, I'm pretty sure it's broken down in NIHART's report, what categories the administrative expenses are.
They usually do.
I think so.
Some of it's, it'll say legal is X amount, investment in X amount.
Right, like bank
Yeah, I've
fees,
never
I think
seen that.
Rutland is
Or
broken out.
custodial fees.
Right.
X amount. I have seen it, whether it's in the yearly managerial summary or if it's in the,
Yeah, I've never seen them break it down, so
No,
it's
I-
just something
now
to
you
think of.
say that, I do remember seeing that,
Because
yeah.
if I was on the board, I'd be curious why it jumped from 68,000 to 108. And it could be Clearbrook, I mean, are they charging,
Investment expense.
I know it's basis points, that's how their contract
Right.
is,
So
but
the more-
I'm not sure.
The more funds that are under advisement, the more money naturally that they're gonna get out of their fees,
I
you know?
mean, there's not necessarily a positive return on investments, but if they're doing the investing and the transacting, I'm sure they're gonna charge, I don't know, maybe not, but I'm just.
but I think in 2017, you had a good return on your money, it was like 12%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then 2000.
And it was only $68,000.
It's not based on the return, though, it's based on the amount of money in the fund. So if you have,
Percentage of the
if you
net
only had
asset value.
24 million at the beginning of 2017, it's 30 basis points of 24 million. Now, at the beginning of 2018, you've got 32 million, it's the same percentage for a higher amount, so it's more money. So it doesn't matter if you,
But it hasn't changed that much, the pension fund, correct?
in 2 years, yeah, I mean, the amount of money it has. The problem is the unfunded liability has also increased. So even though the percentage is only going 1%, if you look back at the amount of money that was in the fund at the beginning of 2017, it was probably about 25 million, where we're at 32 now.
Because in their December report, there was, which I've had some concern, and I've had some conversations with Russ, Mr. Masacci over there regarding what the ARC's liability is gonna be in the next 5 or 10 years. I even had a discussion with Mr. Carson on that a little bit.
Well, next 5 years, it's going to start going
Oh,
up
it's-
dramatically.
The amount of money that's gonna be required, I don't see how this town can come up with the money.
And that was my next question. Have you started checking into MERS, see if it's feasible?
We
It's,
talked about it. The thing with MERS, and I've had meetings, Mr., what's his,
Seth Magazine? Mhm.
He came to the PERC meeting several years ago. I sat there. He came to, it was at another meeting. I sat and listened to him. The biggest thing is everybody has to agree, active and retired.
There you go. So,
We have talked about it. It's been talked about to the council. I think there was even one council meeting, I'm not sure exactly, last 6, 8 months that was brought up.
but if we don't know what the MERS is all about, because I hear speculations too, I hear it from this one, it's good, it's bad, it's indifferent, it might help us out, it might not, you might get a cut in benefits. If we don't know, lack of information makes everybody afraid. If you don't have the information, people are afraid to make a decision. So I'm saying, as a pension board, where we're in trouble, we're only at 20-some%, why not be proactive and say, as a board, say, Mr. Magazzini, can you come? We're going to set up a meeting at the West Warwick High School. We're going to invite unions, retirees, and everybody. Get the word out, and just come. We're not obligated for anything. All we're going to do is a listening session, and people can get up and ask questions and be informed. And once you're informed, you can make a decision, because you got the retirees on one side, you got the active members on another, and we're butting heads because it may be good for these people and may not be good for. But if you got Mr. Magazzini here and said, look, this is the benefits to you people, this is the benefit to the town, I think it's a place to start, and we can start a discussion. But if we don't have the meeting and nobody's being proactive to get a meeting, for me to call them, I represent 40-some guys. Okay, for you to call them, you're the pension board, okay? And you're looking out for everybody's interests, retirees, union people, and everybody, and have a meeting and say, look, we invited him here, he has the floor, let him talk. You'll have a discussion after that.
One thing I'm concerned with MERS, I'm gonna be probably more honest than I should be, but Forbes has been writing some interesting articles on the state employees' retirement system that indicates that, one, it's not doing very well, two, that it's not transparent as to what's really going on in that state employees' retirement system. And it's not doing anywhere as well as it could be. The fees are high. If we go into a MERS system, we're not gonna have control over how things are going. We have to turn that over to some other board. This town won't have control of it. This town will be told what their contribution's gonna be every year, and have no say.
This town's had the control since 1998, and we let it get down to 22%. So we're not doing a very good job either.
But if we put it into MERS, then, that's it,
We're not saying to put it into MERS. What we're saying is to start the discussion. If you have a discussion, you say you heard all about Forbes. Well, ask Mr. Magaziner about that, about your recollection about Forbes magazine, about how you're saying it's doing well. You're going to stand up and say, hey, it's not doing well. I read Forbes magazine and said, you're not doing well at all. You've got high fees and all that. Let's have the discussion. Let's go someplace. Let's be proactive before we end up like Central Falls. I do not want to be there. I've seen it. I lived through it. I felt bad for everybody. And you should, as a board, want to be proactive for this. It's a discussion. That's all it is.
The unions, the unions as a collective, the unions altogether could promote this meeting as well.
At the last West Warwick PERC meeting, I stood up and said, towards the end, everything that you just said and then some. I told them, I said, in my opinion, the only way that's gonna work is we need to have a meeting, similar to what you said at the high school or whatever, that involves all the active people, all the retired people, disability and regular retirees.
Everybody.
Discussion. That's all it is.
Mr. Magazine, all right? Council members, and that would be it. I was told that they did have a meeting similar to that before, that people from heads of some of the unions that are in the MERS system came and told them, no, this is not gonna work, this is no good. We went from our pension system to that, we got screwed, things were different, we had to work more years, and we could have just retired. They said, no, you don't wanna do it.
Who had this meeting, Al?
I don't know who had.
Let's have our own meeting.
What I was told, that's what happened.
Yeah, but let's not be told about anything. Let's
Well,
know.
let me finish. And so when that was all said to me, I said, okay, so what we do is do the meeting and make it like a closed-type meeting. Just invite these people and that's it. I said, you need to have the retirees explain what's happening to them because the active people look at things different.
They do.
And explain to them what's happened from the time I retired, you retired, different people, so they can see what the changes are. Get the information about the reliability, the ARC numbers that we've been getting the last few months or so, what that increase would be, the liability, how the benefits, the other posts,
OPEB.
OPED, how that amount has been, money for that's been done for other things.
Yeah.
All those things that are affecting the overall of this system, put it in black and white so they can see it, and explain to them. And then, I hadn't heard what you just said, but I find that interesting. But put that on the table also.
You gotta put everything on the table.
Because one thing that gentleman said in all the meetings and anything I've read that's been done since, and even the bills that I think they've got a couple there now, is that it has to be 100% or you can't.
Understood.
Now, I
But we
think
got,
they're
you gotta
trying to
start
all-
someplace, Al.
Well,
You gotta have a meeting. You gotta request the meeting.
I suggested that at that meeting that we had, that we do that, and I don't know where that's gone since then. Okay, but I have brought it up, I have suggested that.
I'm not gonna belittle the
And-
situation,
What?
because
What's that?
I'm gonna try to get the meeting.
By the way, Seth Magaziner is going to speak sometime in the next
Tomorrow.
couple of
Council
months.
94
Tomorrow.
correct?
When?
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
at 1 o'clock.
He's going to, at the Shriners.
Tomorrow, Ralph, at 1.
1 o'clock tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 1. at the
Oh,
Shrine.
tomorrow at
Right.
1.
But that's for the state plan, not about West Warwick.
Life Threat meeting in 2 months.
But I'm not gonna beleaguer the situation, but you all know, you all know sitting up there. In 5 years, the town of West Warwick will never be able to meet the ARC. They
I don't
won't.
think you're gonna be able to meet some of the
But
years before
They-
that.
Well, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, I've been running scared for 20-some years, running this organization, because I've seen what the, okay? In 5 years, they won't be able to pay that ARC. What do we do then? What do you do as a pension board then?
So, I mean, you guys are worried about administrative costs.
I'm not only worried about, that's one of my pet peeves.
Okay, but this is small numbers compared to the fact that we were aiming for a 7% return, and we've only gotten a 5.8%.
Bingo.
So that's a bigger issue, that's a huge issue in my mind, because what that means to me, from an investment standpoint, is that you actually have to take more risk in order to get to that 7%.
Can we afford to take more risk?
And when you've got.
Can this,
When you've got, but can we not afford to? take more
$36
risk?
million, can you afford to take a risk where it could deplete it to 15 million, and then we'll all be,
Can you not afford to take?
You
the risk?
cannot
It's the
do-
other-
take
it's the
that
other
risk.
issue. You know, if you don't take the risk, what's the consequences? If you do take the risk, what's the consequences? So
But
you have to look at both sides. Can you not afford to take a risk? You
But
know,
the thing is, an administrative cost, and I came across some documents doing some other research, where it was paid by the town, which people have heard, I've heard this said over the years in meetings when I sat there. But, and then it was, all of a sudden now the pension board and the pension system was paying for it.
Right.
Then I've heard, and I saw in '98, minutes for a meeting, pension board meeting, where the chairman say that the question was asked by, I believe was Jerry Tyre at the time, and I believe you asked
It
one
was
time
me.
too, different months.
Vinnie Mossy, will Steve Valls.
Yeah,
They said they wanted to get their own lawyer, and they wanted the administrative costs.
but
And I
in the
says,
course of reading that, it said that, there's the same explanation I've been hearing, is that the administrative cost is figured in the ARC.
Well,
But the issue with that is, okay, let's say that is 100% true. If they not paying the required amount of ARC, which in this last 5 years, it seems like they haven't, that's already puts us behind the 8 ball to start with. So if they're required to pay 10 million and they're only paying 6 million, we're 4 million in the
well,
hole
let
already.
me ask you this, you're the pension board, have they paid the full lock in the past 5 years?
there was a year when they didn't.
No.
But I think they have, at least in the last
No,
three.
no,
that
no,
I know
you're
of.
telling me right now, according to our 5-year plan and our MOUs that we signed,
Yes.
retirees,
Yes.
that the town of West Warwick has not fully made their ARC payments. Are you telling me that
For all 5 years?
for all 5 years?
Yeah, that's true.
They have or they haven't?
They did not, because I know there was 1 year when they didn't.
What year?
It was very early in the plan.
They didn't make their required contribution.
That is correct. They were short, like, I don't know, a few hundred thousand.
This year, have they paid their full
Yes.
lot?
They
Do
paid,
you know if
they paid
they
it up
paid?
to this point, yes,
And when does the
Five
fiscal
years.
year end? When
In
was their
June.
last payment?
in June.
In
That was-
June.
Yeah, June 30th.
And do you think they're gonna make their,
They claim they are.
They are?
So
okay.
that's.
But I wish you could get that information for me when they didn't make the full lock. I don't know.
Yeah,
who
it's
got
in
that.
I
You
saw
seem
it-
to be
I
up
saw
on the
it in a
finances, so
report.
maybe you could get it for me.
Yeah, I saw it in a report. I can direct you to the page. number.
Yeah, just email to me, you got my email, because that's in violation of our MOU. They didn't make their lot. I
Right
appreciate
now,
that.
West Warwick ranks close to the bottom, I think, as a percentage of the
Oh, yeah.
22% of the whatever the.
And that's what I'm saying, I know she's got good intentions about,
Yeah.
can you take more risk? You can't take more risk because we're gonna go under, because it doesn't seem we have like your investment people. They seem like nice guys, but they lost what, 1.2 million in 3 months?
Yeah, they talked about that last December.
Correct, they talked about it, they lost 3, I don't know what happened in February, whether they made money or lost money.
Well-
But 3 months is scary,
Yeah,
1.8.
the market went down in 3 months. And
So
then,
you wanna put more money into risk
but
for the stock
Yeah, but
market?
there's
That's
different ways to take risks,
uncertain.
you don't necessarily have to put it in stocks, there's different ways to take risks. And
Like what?
the-
What are we gonna risk?
bonds, municipal bonds, things like that, there's other ways.
But that ties up our money for a while, doesn't it?
But you're earning interest on it anyway, so,
Well, aren't we at a point where we're paying out more than what we're taking in?
we are, would you, yes.
Is that scary to this board?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
because it means that the fund
That
is.
and the
So we
fact
gotta look at
that
alternatives.
our liability is climbing,
Another,
and the biggest thing that makes that even worse and multiplies it exponentially is the fact that the town might be able to come up with that money each year to meet that offer.
We're not putting
Right.
out more than we're taking in.
We're not.
that's the other,
We
that's
paid
the
out-
other
we paid
alternative,
out
which the
about
town's not gonna agree to, but
8.5 million
for them to
last year,
put
we
up
took
more
in
money.
close to 11.
Right, but with our fees and everything, that's, we're going,
Well,
Paid out 8.5 million, I think it was 8.5, maybe 9, we took in about 11.
right, but,
So that's a
And
gain
that's
of
about
2 million.
something.
except that our fees are taking that down too, so,
I'm saying net,
net.
oh, net overall
Net.
for 1 year, the previous year.
Right. and the more the art goes up, the more we're gonna take in from that. Employee contributions are part of that,
Mhm.
the ARC's part of that, and then whatever the market does, the gains are part of that as well.
All I'm saying.
If you look at that report, it's on, I can't speak.
If
like-
you look at it. and
Exact.
You know what troubled me the most? What troubled me the most? Mr. Goslin at a financial town meeting, I believe it was last year. He was part of that 5-year plan. You know what he said? I'm sorry to say that we didn't follow the ARC. Isn't it troubling from the town councilman who knows our pension was in trouble and they had a 5-year plan? And he admitted that we didn't follow the 5-year plan. 5-year plan wasn't gonna get us out of trouble. It was gonna maybe increase our feasibility to stay alive a little bit longer. Okay, that's all it was gonna do. It wasn't gonna get us out of trouble. Anybody thought it was gonna get us out of trouble is, in Disneyland. Okay, it wasn't gonna get us out of trouble. But for him to come out and say, we didn't follow the bad plan. It wasn't a good plan. We didn't follow the bad plan. That's scary. That should be alarm bells to this board. And I would be going up saying, why didn't you follow the plan? Why?
They didn't wanna raise taxes.
That's,
That was the
But that
issue,
was-
they didn't wanna raise the taxes.
Yeah.
and who suffers? These guys that are working?
Yep,
Yeah?
yeah,
But,
and the retirees,
I mean-
because guess what,
Yeah,
I mean, they
absolutely.
they didn't fund OPEB.
So we have to
this
just,
fiscal
they
year.
just borrowed what?
So-
$500,000 from OPEB. They have no plans of paying it back that I
I
heard.
don't think they ended up doing that, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, I think they did. They borrowed from the fire fund, they borrowed from.
They didn't
OPEB.
have to, as far as I'm aware, when I talked to the manager about that. But again, I don't wanna use this as a platform to debate. This is
I know,
public
but
comment.
What, I'm getting back
We're
to my
getting-
original thing. We need to have a discussion for an alternative plan. If it's just a discussion, at least we can say, if we go down the toilet and we go bankrupt in 5 years, at least we can say, hey, we had a meeting with Seth Magazine, and we had an alternative meeting. We didn't agree to it, the unions didn't like it, the retirees didn't like it. At least we had the meeting. And we all, I know you're shrugging your thing,
No,
but
I'm
we
saying,
should have it.
you know,
Don't you agree? You should
I
want it,
don't-
you're on the
I don't-
board.
I don't have a problem with having a meeting and considering an alternative of MERS, okay? But I think it detracts from the real issue here.
What's the real issue?
Well, we're not making enough money in this plan. That's the real issue.
Did you have that
You know?
issue when we had a 12% return instead of a 7? I mean,
No,
like, you gotta look, you can't just look at 1 year and
Right.
say, oh, that's
No.
it, throw the whole thing away. I mean,
But
you gotta
I'm
look at an
looking
average.
I mean.
1
we've got-
year, they had a bad economy. I mean,
No, it's not just 1 year, because 2015 didn't look so good either.
Wish we had a
So-
different company then.
And-
Well,
But
the
that's not
average
the
has
issue.
been more than 7%,
Well, I wish you all good luck.
2 years.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna try to organize the meeting. I hope you're on board with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, at that
Talk
meeting,
to
I
your
suggested that.
retirees, talk to whoever you can. Talk to your union. I'm gonna see if I can get to me, at least let's talk to them.
Oh,
And get the
put
pros
the
and
information
cons.
on the table, at least
You know,
everybody,
and-
like you said,
And we'll go
can
from
see it.
there.
Right.
We gotta do something, because I just think in 5 years, we won't even be sitting here. We'll be talking to the state of Rhode Island up there and saying, okay, how much you gonna cut my pension by?
Right.
The legislature.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. I told you I'd keep you here a little while.
Thank you.
They always do.
Next,
You haven't broken a record yet, though,
Stipend at the
Kevin.
end of the month, right?
Thanks, Kevin.
Nice.
Any other public comment? Hearing none,
Motion to adjourn.
motion made,
Second.
seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
Your wife.
Motion carries.